は僕をダメなやつと思う。鏡を見つめる僕を見下げているけど、中には大きな力希望がある。 Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face? A demon living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape. You can't escape. No one understood the world that I was making. Look me in the face and tell me I was faking. Maybe I'm a little young, but you don't know what I've become. Can't you see it in my face? A demon living in disguise, but you can see the killer in my eyes. I've got a look you can't escape. You think you've got my number figured out? A motive born in drought and brevity. And if I'm not the soul of your design, I blatantly decline your remedy. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else than your machine. I wasn't always just a single shade, a palette full of gray in reverie. And I can burn it brighter than the sun. I have a golden gun inside of me. Don't box me in, don't, or I'll leave. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a closer, I'd rather be clean, I'd rather be a poser in a magazine, I'd rather be pretty much anything else. And if I fall behind, ignoring all the signs, and if I lose the fight, I still rage against the night. I'd rather be a dreamer, I'd rather be free, I'd rather be a leader, I'd rather be a queen, I'd rather be a singer in a trashy cover band. I'd rather be a simple, dear. I'll still be here when you're gone. You gather souvenirs, but I will never be your pawn. Your pawn. Your pawn. My love wasn't ever a game. I lay with
Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday, as good as it can be. And I hope everyone had a okay weekend. Welcome, everybody. Derry Bennett, welcome. Sammy, welcome. Eager, welcome. Michael Haster, Wolf Glen. Kirkenstein's Monster, Charlie Martini, welcome. Folks, it's here. The deck is stacked, the game is rigged. Eager with the 5 gifted tier subs. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Folks, this stream is going to be a bit on the shorter side. The stuff that's been happening in the last few hours is quite frankly horrific, scary. I don't know. So this is what Germany in 32 felt like. Yeah. The news coming out of your country today is effing horrific. Yeah, it is. I mean, like, it's just, it has me speechless. Thanks. Hope you had a good weekend on Monday too. Yeah, I mean, I had a pretty decent weekend. Spent some time in the mountains. But yeah, here we are. Here we are. How was the mountains? It was nice. It was nice. We took a little drive into some deep forest roads. Yeah, I guess we'll we'll talk about that for just a brief second. Yeah, we took a little excursion into the mountains, into some deep forest roads. And we went to a falls, and we went to a really high point lookout where you can kind of see everything. It's pretty cool. In fact, I'll post some pictures up later. It was nice. It was nice just to kind of be in nature. Not that many people around. It was cool. Did you build a fallout shelter? Nope. This is my fallout shelter. This is it, folks. This is all I got. This is literally my fallout shelter. Okay. I wasn't planning to do an IRL run through of Fallout. I just wanted to play it on my phone or on my computer, right? It's just a video game, but here we are, you know. Yeah, let's get into the Doom. Yeah, I honestly don't know how much I'm gonna be able to cover today. It's just gonna be like basically like the important stuff, okay? Because that needs to be talked about, even though we kind of all know what's happening, right? I think that this is something that I'm gonna probably also end up turning into like its own video because of just how serious this has become. Erica, good afternoon. Ladybug, welcome. I spoke to my girlfriend about this. We will legitimately shelter American expats if it gets worse. Oh, it's gonna get worse, I'm afraid. Good afternoon. Oh, there's a hype train going on. Look at that. You guys made it to level 2. And I didn't even realize that. Look at that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, folks, let's get into it because we got heavy stuff to cover, and before we do so, let's just do the usuals. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you guys joining the stream. Thank you. If you want to support the channel, keep doing what you're doing, like the stream, subscribe, do all the awesome stuff. If you want to support the channel directly, subscribe to the Substack. It's free. Consider checking out the merch store, hitting !tip. Join the Discord, folks, if you want to keep up with the channel. There's also, we do movie events as well sometimes, from time to time. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a very, very tight-knit community on Discord. And, yeah, feel free to join and talk amongst each other as well. I'll grab some merch as well. Support is very important right now. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. But yeah, just don't like, if you can, then excellent. But remember, like, these are also very, very difficult freaking times, man. But these are very difficult times. So, like, you know, another good, excellent way of supporting the channel is just getting like as many eyeballs here as possible. That is an excellent way of supporting the channel. But yes, I do appreciate that. Mobilize and talk to your friends about this. Yes, that's the whole point of this. It's not, you know, it's not just like me blabbing on a mic. It's not just me blabbing on a mic. It's what I'm blabbing about. I'm here for a reason, education, and mobilization, and some merch. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Wolfglen, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Wolfglen giving out 25 community subs. Oh my god. Wow. Just like completely just like destroyed that hype train. Look at that. Not only, yeah, mega sub alert. Not only, okay, did we get a hype train going on, okay? Not only did we get a hype train going on, but we actually managed to hit the goal, folks. Hit the goal. That is the first time we've managed to do that. Look at that. That is a massive accomplishment here. Thank you, Wolfglen. Yeah, a massive W. Like a huge, like, uppercase W. Thank you. Holy cow. Whew. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Supermovo, thank you so much. Welcome in the chat. I help when I can. Well, I appreciate that, Wolfgang, and thank you. Thank you. It really does mean a lot, and it really does help the channel. I appreciate it. Everything that you see here is made possible by you folks. Thank you so much. All right, folks, let's get started. Unfortunately, I wish it was under happier circumstances. Thank you, guys.
Many, many millions of people are looking at the economic and political system in America and understand that it is not working for them. All right? You tell them to go out and vote, and they go out and vote, and what happens? Over the last 52 years, the average American worker in inflation accounted for dollars is earning less than he or she did 52 years ago. And there's been a massive transfer of wealth during that period to the top 1%. Oh, go out and vote. Go out and vote for this candidate or that candidate. Really? Who cares? What does it matter? The rich get richer. I am struggling. Richest country in the world, 60% living paycheck to paycheck.
True, should have been Bernie.
You just heard Bernie Sanders explain why so many Americans don't even bother to vote. It's because no matter how many times they come out to vote, things never seem to get better. And we've been trapped in this perpetual cycle where Republicans will come in, they'll destabilize and destroy, and then Democrats in the next election will swoop in like heroes to save the day, but they end up not saving the day. In fact, they end up disappointing. So on average, we keep moving backwards because the disappointing incremental changes implemented by Democrats aren't substantial enough to undo the damage caused by Republicans.
Yep, and that's kind of like the whole crux of the thing. Hey, ADT, the 2025 tariffs are a form of economic terrorism and warfare being used against the lower and middle class by billionaires and politicians. How tariffs revenue has never reimbursed to U.S. citizen taxation or paid to U.S. citizens' bills. Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, it is a massive transfer. Well, the point of tariffing is, as you said, to destroy the economy. So yeah, it is economic terrorism, and also it is class warfare, because what you're describing is class warfare. Yes, this is all a pretty accurate analysis. No notes.
Let alone move us forward. So we've been trapped in this state of decline for decades now. The question is, why? Why are we stuck in this death spiral? And Bernie Sanders provides us with a very simple answer. Follow the money.
When you talk about people losing faith in the American political system, it's justified because you have a corrupt campaign finance system. So you get one vote and you get one vote, and Elon Musk could spend $270 million to help elect Donald Trump to become president, and then his reward is he becomes the most powerful person in government. And it's not just Republicans. You got Democratic billionaires heavily influencing what goes on in the Democratic Party. As I mentioned earlier, I feel very strongly that the United States government should not give another nickel to the Netanyahu extremist government that has killed 50,000 people in Gaza, wounded over 110,000 people. All right, that's my view. You may disagree with me. But you got AIPAC telling any Democrat who stands up to Netanyahu, guess what, we're going to primary you. We're going to spend millions of dollars to defeat you. So,
and they did. And they did. And they took out a couple of Congress people.
Does it sound like we're living in a democracy when Musk can intimidate any Republican? You stand up to me, we're going to primary you. We're going to defeat you. We got a corrupt campaign finance system influencing both political parties. So the average American says, yeah, I got one vote. And Musk can spend hundreds of millions of dollars. Is that a democracy? Why should I vote?
He's right. And what he's saying is not hypothetical. A 2014 Princeton University study conducted by Drs. Gillens and Page found that citizens have a statistically insignificant impact on policy outcomes, whereas interest groups and economic elites, they get the policies that...
I mean, like, yeah, you know, I know this study gets referenced a lot, but like, yeah, I mean, this is just like self-evident, right? This is self-evident because the more money you have, the more influence you're able to buy, the more of your stuff you get to pass. It's that simple. Night of Zeal gifting a tier 1 sub to Carpet Packs. Thank you so much. Welcome, Carpet Packs. Yeah, I know those graphs.
they want passed. Why? Well, because they have capital as well as lobbying power, and you don't. Money in politics is the lowest common denominator, and the feasibility of any particular policy hinges on whether...
Yeah, I mean, like, it's just like a tale as old as time, right? Like, if you have money, then you can buy influence, which means that legislation is going to favor you. It's just that simple.
Or not, there's moneyed interests against it. I mean, you want the minimum wage increased? Too bad, because corporations with lobbying power don't. You want to stop sending weapons to genocidal countries like Israel and Saudi Arabia? Sorry, the victims of genocide in Palestine and Yemen don't have the money to lobby politicians or contribute to their campaigns, not to mention the defense industry wants to keep that money flowing to these genocidal countries. You want your student debt canceled? Not going to happen, because the companies who make billions of dollars servicing your loans every single year profit off of keeping you in debt forever. Nothing...
True! Winnie Rose, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you. The fact that lobbying is even allowed is insane. Yeah, I mean, like, it's also like the fact that it's lobbying with no guardrails, treating corporations like people and giving them essentially a unlimited amount of money where they can kind of funnel this into politics is really the problem here. Bipedal meatbag. We don't have money for healthcare, but we got plenty of bombs to drop. Yep, there's always enough for that. Always. You guys are this close to canceling student debt? Nope. Lobbyers. Yeah, I mean, we got screwed by that, by the way. We got super screwed by that. we got super screwed by that. Like, our payments have quadrupled. Like, I'm not even joking. I talked about this in a prior stream a minute back. I think it was like last week or 2 weeks. Our payments are going to be essentially quadruple. The idea of super PACs is shocking. Yep. We should all just stop paying our student loans. I wish we had like that level of solidarity, and just say like, no more.
Ever changes because of money in politics.
Because I'm down.
You can propose the most common sense, efficient, life-saving, cost-cutting policy imaginable, like Medicare for all, for example. But since the private insurance industry profits off of our pain and suffering, we can't have Medicare for all. So we leave our broken healthcare system in place and leave it broken on purpose, to be clear, just so the health insurance industry can continue to exist and leech off of us. Now, Bernie Sanders explained this in that same town hall.
Raise your hand if you think the American healthcare system is broken. Raise your hand.
You guys are close to the no more point. Get rid of money in politics, but also get rid of money, you know? We used to give the ruling class the guillotine. I mean, 1790s France, you know, kind of displayed what happened when a population gets pushed to a breaking point, right? Like, overturning Citizens United, that'd be a start. Yep.
Majority, everyone.
Not a majority, for everybody in the room.
And I can see behind that guy.
And that is, all right, question again. How many nations, wealthy nations in the world, do not guarantee health care to all people as a human right? Anybody know the answer? Which country? All right. Now, you're not going to hear much about that on corporate television. You're not going to hear much about that in the United States Congress. We're the only major country on earth that doesn't guarantee health care to all people. 85 million
system isn't broken, it's working as intended.
Of us are uninsured or underinsured. 60,000 die each year because we can't get to a doctor on time. That's the bad news. You know what the good news is? The insurance companies are making tens of billions of dollars every year denying you coverage. The drug companies charge us the highest prices in the world for prescription drugs. So how does it happen that in the wealthiest country...
Anderson isn't happy. Project 2025 in a nutshell: keep them dumb, keep women barefoot, pregnant, and in the kitchen.
History of the...
Yeah, and keep racism alive. 1798 Bastille or better 1870 Commune for the history nerds. The Paris Commune.
The world we're spending twice as much per capita as the people in other countries, and yet we have one of the worst outcomes, healthcare outcomes, of any country on earth. And it gets back to money in politics and the domination of big money, in this case insurance companies, drug companies, over the Republican and...
Right, and like this is why people should care about there being oligarchs. This is exactly why people should care about people like Elon Musk existing. This is why people should care about people like Bill Gates existing. This is why people should care about like the Mark Zuckerbergs, the Jeff Bezos of the world. This is why they should care, because it's not just like, oh, well, they're just like rich people that are like untouchable, like lords. Like, no, they have a direct impact on your life. In fact, they spend so much money to have the ability to impact your lives that it should matter to you. And I'm not vote again. I'm volunteering for a Canadian election. I'm phone banking and door knocking. Get time to get mobilized. Oh, I don't doubt that. Like, definitely, as that is still an opportunity, or that's still a card left on the table to use it. It's gonna take a little more than. It's gonna take a little more than voting. I'm not saying not to. I'm just saying, understand that this is gonna take like all hands on deck kind of deal. Not to mention whitewashing history. Yep.
I want to try to get some more of our audience questions. Joel,
no, I know you do, but I want to talk about.
I know.
No, I want to. Sometimes
big mad.
These issues about healthcare, about income and wealth inequality are not talked about in the corporate media, and it's time that we did talk about them. That's why the question a moment ago, why are people losing faith in the American system? We don't talk about it on CNN. We don't talk about it in Congress. It's because they understand that a handful of billionaires exert enormous influence, and that has got to change.
And to his point, why doesn't CNN or even MSNBC talk about our corrupt healthcare system more often? Again, you have to follow the money. News outlets are businesses, and their goal of maximizing profits is their main goal. Informing people is secondary. So they have an incentive to not talk about policies that would piss off their potential advertisers.
The fact that everyone knows what that state means is another thing. Because CNN is a right-wing network. Yep.
They bring up Medicare for all, that would turn off potential advertisers in the health insurance industry. Democrats also don't really want to talk about things that would piss off potential donors like Medicare for all, because the health insurance companies that donated to their campaigns the last time might not pick up the phones if they start making these fundraising calls that they always make, if that Democrat is talking about a policy that threatens the health insurance industry's existence, literally. Not to mention, so many politicians are pretty active traders themselves, so they're cognizant of the fact that their stock portfolios would take a major hit if the entire health insurance industry vanished like this because of Medicare for all. And it's gotten so fucking bad that Democrats don't even really talk that much about Citizens United and overturning it, and they've moved the goalpost. And they used to talk about how we need to get money out of politics. Now they talk about getting dark money out of politics.
Ever wondered what your home looks like from space?
Nope.
Enter your address and get a 360-degree satellite view of your home.
Why would I do that?
In other words, if they talk about getting...
Dems really need to get off the Bill Clinton model of governance. 100%. I'll do you one better. The Dems are a right-wing party. I agree. Like, basically, the definition, like, the way I see it, because I know that labels are kind of, reductive, but whatever, they have their uses. Essentially, if you uphold and support capital, then you are on the right. You are on the right. This is what this is the same way Adolf gained his power. He won't do this and he won't do that. Modern Democrats are having idiots, minus a few. Yeah, I mean, yeah. Well, the thing is, like, they have to. They're captured. They have to be, right? Like they're captured. It's that simple. They're captured by capital.
Money out of politics, full stop. That might offend potential wealthy donors who would be pretty pissed off if they lost their ability to bribe politicians, hence why the new DNC chair emphasized that they plan on only taking money from the good billionaires. I mean, there's a reason why Hakeem Jeffries' first instinct after the election was to try to mend fences with Silicon Valley oligarchs instead of the young people and people of color that they lost, because after the oligarchs who give them the most money saw how much influence Trump gave to Elon Musk, they wanted to know why Democrats never let them have that much influence either. And this is our system. This is what happens when you effectively legalize bribery and you incentivize bribery. But things have gotten so bad that rich people started to realize that they no longer need to rely on puppets to do their bidding, even though that's easier. If they wanted to, they can just cut out the middlemen and become politicians themselves and fund their own campaigns. That way they can enrich themselves easier and faster. And that's exactly what Donald Trump did. Now, Donald Trump presumably just used tariffs to deliberately crash the stock market to enrich himself and his rich friends. And that in and of itself is like a new level of corruption. Just think about what we witnessed this week. He set a specific date to let everyone know when the tariffs would go into effect, so that way rich people would know when to dump their stocks. Then once the stock market crashed and prices were low, he told everybody to buy. Then he lifted the tariffs, which led to a surge in the price of stocks that they just bought when prices were down. I mean, it's pretty brazen. And
explain to me like I just entered college for Econ 101. What exactly would you call that, chat? Like, what exactly would you call someone purposely manipulating the market like that? With the aim of enriching friends, colleagues, whatever, family. As someone works in the finance field, that's manipulation, right? You exactly. This is like textbook market manipulation. It's just not called that because he's doing it via like tariffs or whatever. But like, come on. A future inmate in federal prison. In a normal world, yes. Ferris Bueller. It's actually called winning. Mike is on point. Obviously, a future inmate in federal prison. What if they paid down the deficit like that?
Chris Murphy explained how conspicuous the timing of all of this was.
What we know is that about...
Except SCOTUS said the president is immune from crime. That's true. Anything that the president does in official capacity is actually, he's actually immune from, which incidentally, this is the president saying that, well, he does have the capacity to invoke tariffs in a emergency declaration, which he did. So, like, yeah, I guess so. Because, like, you know, laws don't matter, I guess. Laws don't matter, I guess. It's not like Congress can't buy stocks and the federal government creates business entities which are considered people. Yep. I already called it terrorism not just against the US people, but the world. I mean, if Bush can use the word, so can I. What are laws? Unclear. Yeah, laws are for poor people. Yeah, that's true.
9:30 today, Trump posts on social media that people should buy. It's a good time to buy. And then 3 hours later, guess what? He announces that there's going to be a 90-day suspension of many of the tariffs. Predictably, the market, which had been crashing, shoots up. And anyone who made investments early today likely made a lot of money. And so the question is, who close to Trump knew?
I'm not even allowed to trade stocks. So why can senators? Because, you know, reasons, I guess. because reasons.
That he was going to suspend the tariffs. Which of his Mar-a-Lago friends or his billionaire advisors were able to capitalize on that inside information? Why did Trump send out that post to his supporters earlier in the day? The bottom line is that the chaotic nature of this tariff policy, with Trump's position changing every single hour, gives ample opportunity for any individual who has early...
His FT pours. we should burn the White House down again. No. This isn't France. No, it's over. Trump has stripped Congress's power. Now the court neither will put the executive in check. And to be honest, I'm not sure they could without doing a coup per se. Yeah, I mean, we'll get to that, but yeah.
Access to information about the White House's change in position to make boatloads of money, either by investing at the right time or pulling their money out of the market at the right time.
And this isn't being done behind closed doors. This is happening in the open. He tweeted.
Yeah, I mean, like, he's posting this crap on social media.
Now is a good time to buy before he lifted the tariffs. Crazy shit, even for America. Now, look, this could all be coincidental, but the day after this debacle, Trump was bragging about how much money he made for his rich buddies.
This is Charles Schwab. It's not just a company, it's actually an individual. And he made $2.5 billion today, and he made $900 million. That's not bad. He's in financials. I've always been
fucking shameless. Now, in case you couldn't make out...
I mean, like, there's no point. There's no point in hiding it. There's no point in hiding it. I think Wall Street's got jealous of crypto's pumping up ability. They want in. Social Security Administration will only be releasing their public messages on tweets. Kirkenstein Monster, welcome. They're not hiding anymore. Right. There's no point in hiding.
what he was saying. He said that one of them made 2.5 billion and the other made 900 million. Now, Eric Reinhardt asked a really good question on Twitter after this happened. How much wealth was transferred from the retirement accounts of working class people to the pockets of the ultra wealthy by Trump's manipulation of the markets over the last week? 100 billion, 500 billion, more? And soon after, he got his answer because he shared a summary from Bloomberg, which reads, the world's richest people added more than 300 billion to their combined net worth, the largest one-day gain in the history of the Bloomberg Billionaire Index after Trump pledged to pause tariffs for some countries. In other words, our billionaire president might have just pulled off one of the biggest rug pulls we've ever seen. And back in 2012, Trump talked about how good bad markets were for investors like him.
Find that I do better in bad markets. I buy things in bad markets. And you can't do that in a great economy. You can't buy it. Either you're going to buy it very expensively or not be able to buy it at all. So there's a lot of opportunity, I find, in the bad times.
Yeah. So if you're wondering why it seemed like Donald Trump was intentionally trying to crash the economy, there's your answer. And he wasn't the only one to presume.
Yeah, I mean, like, we know this, right? Like, we know this. Because, like, what happened in 2008? Acceleration is eating good today. That's for sure. For my Bloomberg term was about 318 billion USD. 2008 ruined my girlfriend's family almost. I mean, it ruined a lot of people's families. I'm gonna be honest. A lot of people got screwed in 2008. But if you were a very, very wealthy person, then you could weather it and come out on top. I shouldn't say girlfriend anymore, fiance. She said yes, chat. Well, there's some freaking good news. There's some good news. Well, I'm very happy for you. Congratulations. Sassy Sasserai was talking to my financial advisor. Miss Castagna, sure we do a great crispy pizza, too bad it's worth pineapple. Oh. There's nothing wrong with pineapple on pizza. The rich get richer and the poor get poorer. They give us crumbs and now they want us to give the bread. Well, that's very good, Eager. I'm glad.
Presumably profit.
Lots of lefties tying the knot, and we included. This cannot bode well. Well, congratulations also, Winnie Rose. I mean, you know, these are very difficult times. So the fact that, like, you know, you two are taking that step is freaking awesome. You know what? Like, any small good news of love, and just a good, you know, thing happening is good. We gotta take these, you know, these things. Nothing ever happens, and here we are.
Off of your pain and suffering, because lawmakers like Marjorie Taylor Greene slammed the so-called panicans who were freaking out about tariffs, and she bought the dip. Specifically, she spent around $275,000 when the prices were low. And Adam Schiff announced plans to investigate politicians who may have partook in insider trading, and he's also calling for an investigation into whether or not Trump himself engaged in
The collapse of the Roman Empire was preceded by unprecedented corruption at the top. True. This was textbooks insider trading. Yeah, but like, you know, him telling or him knowingly disseminating this kind of information, you know, it doesn't matter because this was in official capacity, so the president has immunity. So like, yeah, who cares? Who cares? Sure, the president can manipulate global markets. Sure, the president can, like, engage in insider trading. Sure, the president can just, like, I don't know, disregard a 9-0 Supreme Court decision. Why not?
Insider trading
Sure.
or market manipulation. And you can't say for sure until you do an investigation, because this could just be the biggest coincidence in the history of coincidences. But with that being said, where there's smoke, there's probably fire, and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez made it clear that we've seen enough to deduce that the probability that this was
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not immune, though. True.
all just one big giant fucking coincidence is pretty low.
Trump seems to be doing, from tweeting people to buy stock and then later announcing his development on taxes. If people are pissed about insider trading here at the House, look at what's happening at the White House right now and with the Republican Party.
Do you think he knew what he was doing when he sent out that message about stocks before he made the announcement?
It sure seemed like he did. I don't think that it was a coincidence. I don't think that Trump just coincidentally said buy stocks and then shortly later made an announcement that dramatically inflated and dramatically raised a lot of these asset prices.
Yeah, and then he lifted the tariffs on electronics, which immediately raised the stocks of the tech companies, which also incidentally there's a lot of support from the tech industry there. I mean, yeah, this is just corruption on top of corruption on top of corruption on top of corruption.
And, I've heard murmurings on the floor that there may have been people that knew that this was coming. And I'm very interested in seeing some of the stock disclosures that come out when those reports are due. And I'm very interested in what members of Congress have been buying and trading stocks in the last 24 hours prior to this tariff announcement.
I'm very interested in seeing those disclosures too. The deadline is May 15th, apparently. So if some of the most active traders during that time were Trump loyalists, I would love to see what their stock portfolios look like before and after the tariffs. I'm assuming it's going to be pretty interesting. But think about the level.
It wouldn't surprise me. Going to get Future of America from school back in a bit, hopefully before the end of the stream. If not, good show. Well, I appreciate you hanging out, Winnie Rose. Thank you so much for stopping by. You just put a waiver on the Chinese electronics. Yes, that's what I was talking about. Tech stocks are not doing well today. They're holding. I haven't disclosed everything with my work. Why am I more police than your senators? Because, Sure. Indeed, how's it going?
Level of corruption we're talking about here. Our billionaire president might have engaged in purposeful market manipulation to benefit himself, his rich buddies, and his allies in Congress, who are somehow allowed to trade stocks even though they have insider information which gives them an unfair advantage compared to the rest of us. I mean, the fact that this isn't illegal is mind-boggling to me.
Californians hear a lot
It is illegal. That's the thing.
That's a complex problem. That's proving challenging.
It is illegal. That's the thing. It's just that laws don't apply to him. It is illegal, but nobody gives a exactly. But nobody gives a crap. Yes.
Warren Buffett famously said that you're not going to beat the market, but somehow members of Congress, coincidentally, I'm assuming, or maybe just through pure skill, like Nancy Pelosi, consistently beat the fucking market. Although, to be fair, with regard to Nancy Pelosi, she's not doing too good this year, but I'm sure she'll rebound soon. But, I mean, the fact that this unethical behavior is done in front of our faces and they don't even try to hide it shows you how far we've fallen, how normalized corruption has become. And what's crazy about the Trump tariff situation is that nobody at all would be surprised if Trump did actually engage in market manipulation. And to get back to Bernie Sanders, he touched on that at that same town hall.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's not surprising to anybody because that's what Trump's been his entire life. Even before he even dreamed of running for president, right? Like, it was just con after con after con after con. I mean, like, this is not surprising at all. It's just shocking. It's just shocking. But it's not surprising at all. I really wonder what the Supreme Court thought they were doing with that immunity ruling. It's like none of these bozos can think 2 weeks ahead. If someone at my firm traded on a stock security that my firm was invested in, they would yeah, I mean, like, again, yeah, sure. It should be, because it is. It's just, you know, yeah, lying on assets to contract loans. Yeah, I mean, like, it's just one thing after another, right? Like, literally being convicted of fraud. Literally being convicted of fraud. 34 counts of fraud. Felony fraud. I mean, like,
I don't know for a fact, but would I be surprised if there were people who hours before knew exactly what Trump was going to do in rescinding his tariff proposals, understanding that the stock market would soar and you make huge amounts of money? Would I be shocked if we learned about that in the days to come? No, I would not.
Does that announcement that he gave cover to anybody who did buy stocks?
Well, what it does do, look, if you know 2 hours earlier that the stock market's going to go, what are you going to do? You're going to buy a hell of a lot of stock. You can invest in the stock market. But it's not only that. I mean, you got a president of the United States who is now working to give government cover to crypto, and whose family is involved in crypto.
Right, which is just like a series of like pumps. It's just like literally crypto is just like a scheme, right? Like it's just like a legal pump and dump scheme that you can just like generate money with, right? For nothing. The court is filled with Heritage Foundation students, but deporting someone by accident is a bad look. True. This is financial advice, no crypto. You're not making my mouth water. I know it's his words, not real casserole.
Makes money by selling coins, crypto coins. Anybody can contribute, which is a direct line to the president.
And crypto is another layer of corruption that we haven't even touched on yet. As Senator Chris Murphy pointed out, today is the 80th day that the U.S. president is running a backdoor bribery scheme in which any CEO or foreign oligarch can send him money secretly through his crypto coin scam in exchange for favors. It's the biggest scandal in the history of the presidency. Nevertheless, it continues to happen. And hypothetically, if Trump was investigated for insider trading and there was concrete evidence that he did engage in market manipulation for self-serving reasons, what do you think would happen?
It's the person who deported and the Supreme Court asked for him back. Oh, you're talking about him? Yeah, I mean, they said he was alive, but like he's not coming back. He's not coming back. So yeah. It's just a matter of like it's just a matter of like how long that, you know, I don't know. It would be a miracle if he does come back alive or at all. Like it would be a genuine miracle if that man comes back alive or even comes back at all. Nah, he's dead. You think he's dead? In 2020, Bitcoin dropped to 2,500 a coin. I kept joking, now's the time to buy, but I was distracted by getting mass TP and hand sanitizer. You couldn't find peroxide at one point. RFK taking more lives than Luigi. True. Also, the Doge stuff that has unaligned more people than Luigi did, there's something to think about. 100%.
I think we all know that the answer is nothing. He got away with inciting an insurrection and became president after he was convicted of 34 felonies. So I don't think he's sweating whether or not he'll be in trouble for wheeling and dealing with regard to the stock market and, helping his allies get richer. But to take it back to...
They reported he's still alive for now. Yeah, I mean, that's what I last saw. Again, it would be a miracle if he does end up being alive after all of this. Making it back here, it would be a miracle. Matt from the Letter Hack. Commerce Secretary Lutnick was suggested to Trump by Musk purely for crypto. Lutnick revolutionized investment banking with crypto.
Bernie's original point about why Americans have lost faith in America. I mean, this is why. We all understand why. We haven't just institutionalized corruption.
I'm literally a doctor. She has said this dozens of times daily. I mean, look. It's an exercise in futility. God bless your fiance. That's all I have to say. God bless your fiance. Trying to deal with these anti-vaxxers? Nope, couldn't be me.
Corruption. By effectively legalizing bribes, we've chosen to let overt corruption and insider trading go unpunished to the point where it's become the norm. How
can we know if he's alive, but we act as though we can't talk to them to get him back? Because we don't intend to.
Some exception. Everybody's doing it, basically, except for a few exceptions. It's gotten so bad that our billionaire president is literally doing ad reads on the White House lawn to boost sales for a car company owned by his biggest donor, who's also a billionaire. I mean, our government has been completely taken over by oligarchs whose sole purpose is to make the rich richer at everyone else's expense. And it might feel like the system is broken, but unfortunately, it's not broken. In fact, it's working exactly as it was intended to work. This is capitalism. Capitalism is like a democracy-eating virus. And throughout our country's history, we've always tried to find the right balance between capitalism and democracy, but we've never been able to get it right, and we never will, because capitalism and democracy can't exist simultaneously, because the entire point of capitalism is the continuous maximization of profits. So if your entire...
Right, and that eventually leads to you trying. The only way you can do that is then manipulate the system to your favor, because you have to pursue ever increasing profits. The line must always go up.
Economic system is...
Yeah, I will say my sister was she is a nurse. She is a registered nurse. It's rough out there, fam. So I completely agree. It is incredibly difficult. It is incredibly stressful, and it's rough out there, man. It's rough. God bless. God bless.
Premised on that singular goal, and institutions are built to incentivize that perverse priority over everything else, the well-being of humanity expectedly is going to take a backseat. It's a system that can't be reformed, literally, because no matter how many reforms that you implement or try to implement, the threat to undo said reforms will always remain so long as capitalism remains intact.
Right. As long as there's as long as there's a mechanism for corporations or capitalists, really, to accumulate capital and use that capital to manipulate the system to gain more capital, to then use that capital to manipulate the system to gain more capital, to use that capital, you get the point. Then yeah, this just can't keep going, right? My cousin grew up sisters is a nurse too. God bless. God bless.
So any democratic reforms you manage to actually pass are always going to be temporary. I mean, look at the New Deal. It took less than a century to basically overturn all of the New Deal. And think about why it always ends this way. Why don't these pro-democratic reforms that rein in capitalism last? Well, eventually, capitalists run out of ways to grow profits year after year by simply offering a product or service to people. So they've got to get political to keep maximizing profits even further after they cap out in whatever market they've already dominated. I mean, think it through. Once you've gotten as big as you possibly can in one particular sector, well, to grow even bigger, the next step is to swallow up your competition. Make sure you can exploit your customers by becoming a monopoly, maximize profits further, and of course, you've got to grease the wheels of government to make sure that your company isn't broken up with antitrust laws. And while you're at it, you also have to lobby against worker rights and regulations to cut costs, and you pay politicians to rig the tax code in your favor so you save even more money. You then expand to different sectors and create new industries out of things that were once public services. I mean, think about it. Who needs NASA when you've got SpaceX? Who needs public schools when we can have school vouchers offered by these corporations? But I mean, the asks become bigger over time, and eventually you've got to start upping the cost of your campaign contributions to politicians so that way they'll keep doing your bidding. But that requires different reforms to undo the minimal amount of
So like he's just explaining like basically what I said, right? It's a feedback loop. Again, I'm a massive, wealthy corporation. I spend money to lobby politicians who then coincidentally pass laws that benefit me, which make me more money, which then I use to lobby more politicians, which pass more laws to benefit me, and I make more money, and the cycle continues. Not even Massachusetts are you safe from the shit. 100%. I would argue that in a blue area, it's probably more scary because like that's who he wants to target. That's who he wants to target. I think they will send Bernie and AOC to El Salvador before they get to me, but I could be wrong. That's a scary thought, man, because like the fact that like the fact that that is on the table, like I could see a scenario where they just say like AOC is just like expressing like terrorist sympathies, like, you know, go strip her of her congressmanship. Like she's no longer going to be a congressperson. She's now expressing sympathies for terroristic ideology. So like, yeah, she's gone. Yeah, I mean, like, look, all bets are off, okay? But I could see like an argument being laid out like that to eliminate political opponents. Senator Bernie Sanders is expressing sympathies for the terrorist group, whatever. You know, he needs to be stripped of his senatorship and be sent to El Salvador, whatever.
laws that kind of mitigated the amount of influence that large multinational corporations and rich people can have over our government. So then you've got to start funding legal organizations who do the groundwork to overturn those regulations, overturn campaign finance laws, so that way you can offer bigger bribes to politicians to get better results. And eventually, you become so powerful that you can just pay lobbyists to write legislation for you that the politicians you've already bribed will happily introduce. And oftentimes, they get passed as is. And since there's no prohibitions on politicians becoming lobbyists after they get out of office, since you've lobbied against those prohibitions as well, you can reward them with lucrative jobs if they serve you well enough in Congress. I mean, remember Kyrsten Sinema? She brazenly did the bidding of private equity as a senator, and guess what her new job is? She just landed a gig at Hogan Lovells, a lobbying firm representing clients in AI, crypto, and you guessed it, private equity. See what I mean? This is an outcome that is always inevitable in capitalism.
Nice, very cool. Girl boss. F my life, my earbud is dying, and apparently my other earbud wasn't charging. Oof. I hate when that happens. You know, sometimes that's because, like, I don't know what earbuds you're using, but sometimes, like, it happens to me with these things. where if I don't like close them properly, or sometimes like even when the actual case itself is low on battery, it just won't, and the earbuds won't charge or disconnect from the phone. So next thing I know, I don't have earphones. Private equity is disgustingly corrupt. I work in private equity. I believe that.
This is what late stage capitalism in particular looks like. You know, moneyed interests have pit us against each other, hollowed out our democracy, robbed us of public services, and they're trying to find even more ways to profit off of our pain and suffering that they caused. It's why people have lost faith in the system, because it isn't capable of producing results for them. It's why we're trapped in this death spiral where we oscillate between GOP destruction and...
My kid found some AirPods in a case on a hiking trail in New Mexico. They are in perfect condition. Nice. That's a win.
and then dem disappointment, because both parties have been thoroughly captured by capital. And you can impose some regulations here and there in theory to mitigate the worst effects of capitalism, but does anyone expect corrupt politicians to drastically change a system that they benefit from? Does anyone expect politicians who are corrupt to pass laws that'll rein in their own corruption? Of course not. So even though a lot of people aren't going to want to hear this, the same system that got us into this mess is not going to be a system that will deliver us from this mess. In other words, if we don't kill capitalism, capitalism is going to kill us, literally. And I say that because capitalists have ravaged our entire planet, and our species is now at risk of extinction in service of short-term profits for multinational corporations. So the system doesn't need to be salvaged. And I hope that people understand that. It needs to be done away with for a better system that actually prioritizes the well-being of people, not profits. And quite frankly, I think that we can do better than capitalism.
Luigi not happy. Luigi. Bye-bye. Oh, yeah. Luigi. Yeah. Luigi. See you. Bye-bye. Good job, Luigi.
Yahoo!
Trump is now in his first month in office, and
I pray to a Luigi altar every day. Ha! All right, folks, we got to speed run through this, okay? Because I've only got limited energy to do this, okay? Palestinian student leader was called in for citizen interview, but then arrested by ICE. Mike always has the best tracks, true. Let's be fair, Communist China isn't exactly doing the environment any favors either. No. We just have a bigger, part of the responsibility pie. If that makes sense. As the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Office, or the Gestapo, in Burlington, Vermont on Monday, Mohsen Madawi arrived at the Gestapo office on Monday. A Palestinian student at Columbia University hoped that after 10 years in the U.S. he would pass the test to become a naturalized citizen. Instead, agents from the Gestapo arrested him and began the process to deport him to the occupied West Bank. Madawi, a some leader of the campus protest movement against Israel's genocide on Gaza, became yet another green card holder arrested for facing removal. Mohsen Madawi was unlawfully detained for no reason other than his Palestinian identity, said Madawi's attorney Luna Druby in a statement to The Intercept. He came to this country hoping to be free to speak about the atrocities he has witnessed, only to be punished for such speech. FDR didn't end capitalism, he prolonged it, and they've slowly chipped away at it. And us, they're accelerating the problem, perhaps intentionally, to make us extremely desperate. Well, it's not gonna result in the results that they thought were. Madawi is one of the leaders of the pro-Palestine student protest movement until spring of 2024, when he said he took a step back from the movement to focus on building bridges with Jewish and Israeli communities on campus. Like, look at this, man. Look at this. This is insane. In December of 2023, Madawi asked Columbia professor Shai Davidai, a controversial pro-Israel figure on the school, to get coffee. The two met, but Madawi later said that Davidai left in the middle of coffee. Less than 2 months after the meeting, Davidai posted a video of Madawi to Twitter in the thread characterizing him and other protest organizers as anti-Semitic and pro-Hamas. Of course, Davidai did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Since then, Madawi became a focus of attacks on members of Congress and Zionist groups like Canary Mission and Batar. With the Trump administration's, Donald Trump's inauguration, groups like Batar and Canary Mission have been at the center of a push to place scrutiny on foreign students active in campus pro-Palestinian movements at Columbia. And one behind-the-scenes push came from a WhatsApp group that included alumni and faculty at Columbia who organized to get the students deported. That's freaking disgusting, man. That's freaking disgusting. I hope people protest over this. Me too. The rich don't think people are right, and so far they've been right. There's a small number of Christians who think that MAGA is the absolute drizzling shits. And that Trump is a false prophet. I'm one of them. Violence is why civil rights movement happened. The system was scared when bullets whizzed by. The longer this goes on, the more difficult things will become, but I don't see that most people are even aware why this is so messed up. Yeah, exactly. Like, there's no critical mass quite yet built, and that's by design. Does that make sense? Like, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that critical mass of people does not happen. But also, it just so happens that the person who just got into power may end up accelerating that. Even before his friend and fellow Columbia activist Mohammed Khalil was arrested by ICE, Madawi asked university administrators to help him find a safe place to live so he would not be taken by the Gestapo. According to emails reviewed by The Intercept, the school did nothing in response. Because Trump is so obvious, but if we get rid of Trump, wind up with JD Vance, I think people will fall back to sleep. Maybe. Now Madawi is facing an order to deport him to the occupied West Bank, where escalating attacks from both Israeli military and Jewish settlers have led to an increased casualties among Palestinians. This is kind of a death sentence because my people are being killed unjustly in an indiscriminate way. True. His fears arise from the toll of Israel's attacks and occupation have taken on Madawi's family. Growing up in the West Bank, his community has suffered losses for years. He said he lost his childhood best friend, uncle, 2 cousins, several of whom were killed in the Second Intifada, a Palestinian uprising against the occupation that lasted from 2000 to 2005. Most recently, he lost 2 cousins in the growing violence in the occupied Palestinian territory since the October 7 attacks. Badawi said his aunts and uncles' homes had been destroyed and his father's store was blown apart as part of the violence in the West Bank. Now he's the 9th Columbia student targeted for deportation across the country that have had their visas revoked under the Trump administration sweeps and abduction of immigrants. Badawi is one of the few cases of legal permanent residents arrested, meaning that he did not have his student visa revoked, but is facing an effort by the government to cancel his green card. Other permanent residents have faced deportations over allegations that they violated immigration law or had their residency revoked for pro-Palestinian views. This is the outcome, Badawi said. I will either be living or imprisoned or killed by the apartheid system. I mean, like, you can keep reading this. It just gets worse. In the wake of an interview here, he became the subject of increasing surveillance and attacks from Zionist groups. He also started receiving death threats. Canary Mission to stop anti-Semitism on campus. 2 Zionist groups who have become hubs of doxing and bullying pro-Palestinian activists created profiles for him. The profiles claim that Badawi, whose activist work centered on finding peaceful resolutions to the conflict between Israelis, American Jews, and Palestinians, was anti-Israel and pro-Hamas. By late 2024, Badawi visited his apartment by an FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force official. Badawi said he's still unsure of the purpose of the FBI visit. Badawi said Colombia refused to provide him with video footage of his apartment complex capturing the visit. Then, in early 2025, Trump formalized his plans to deport pro-Palestinian protesters with an executive order. Shortly after, Batar, who said it sent a list of students who wanted to be deported to the White House, posted about Badawi. So did the group documented Jew hatred on campus at Columbia U, which is run by a member of pro-Israel WhatsApp group that worked to deport students. So, I mean, like, this is so freaking disgusting, man. Hermit Horologist, welcome. I mean, why not Obama again if there are no term limits? No, please, God, no. Shortly afterward, Badawi went into hiding in response to a final email last month pleading with the school to move to a safe location. A high-ranking official in the Columbia administration wrote, "The university's outside counsel will be in touch with your counsel." Badawi's lawyer said Columbia responded and said they could not give him safe campus housing where he would be better insulated from ICE. So, I mean, like, Columbia University is explicitly complicit with this. It is terrifying that a legal permanent resident could be also deported for expressing anti-genocide sentiment. Harvard is pushing back a little. That's true. They said they will not comply with the Trump administration's demands. I'm still in recovery mode from taking in too many high-level ideas. We've all been there. People ask me why we want to become a citizen of a country committing genocide. I have faith in the people living in this country. The government is not the people. Badawi said the government's efforts to chill speech went beyond issues related to Israel or Palestine. This is why they're crushing universities now. It's not only about Palestine. 100%. Eager with the 200 biddies. Are you all tired of winning yet? So tired, boss. I'm tired. Bernie knew the Dems would not let him be their candidate, but he was able to get his message out, so it was the risk he took. Keep it up, Harvard. It's so heartbreaking to see these institutions take so much from students and then offer them as sacrifices. It's horrible. Yep. Donald Trump has as much intellectual curiosity as a coma patient. I don't disagree. I'm not gonna have time. Movie time. I need to decompress. Understood. Later. Thank you so much for stopping by and thank you for the support. Appreciate it. I'm not gonna have time to cover this because I really do need to cover this story here. The accountant is good. Oh, I don't think I've seen this one. I want the Minecraft movie. The Warriors, if you've never seen it. I've got those SNES thumbs. Can't spell means you're not a witch. True. Alright, folks. We've got just enough time and energy to deal with this last story here. As many of you have probably already watched here earlier, the fascist president of El Salvador visited the White House, and he was predictably asked about the illegal and unauthorized removal of Abrego Garcia, and to which he responded that he's not going to return him. In fact, he went as far as calling him a terrorist, which is not true. He was never a terrorist, much less a gang member, much less a criminal. That was never proven. There was no evidence to suggest any of that. In fact, the U.S. government said that they don't have evidence of that. But nonetheless, he decided to repeat that lie and said that he was not going to return this unlawfully deported person. I watch every episode of Charm many times in my lifetime. Can't confirm. They sometimes can't spell, but it doesn't matter with the right spell. I love Charm. Charmed is awesome. Oh, the White Lighter? Yeah, they were, yeah, the White Lighter, right? I had this shop in the mall called Blue Moon, and it's all that shit you need. It's my favorite store. Even better than Hot Topic. Sorry, T, I think we're just too burnt out on this shit. I know. That's why I'm only covering this story, and I'm out of here. I can't. This is like, what happened today, what happened today is just like, on it's on its own level. Like, we keep talking about the constitutional, we keep talking about constitutional crises. We keep talking about the authoritarianism. We keep talking about the fascism. But like, this is it. This is the case, right? FAA, close your eyes when directing Bukele's plane. El Salvador President Nayib Bukele says he won't return Abrego Garcia to the U.S. El Salvador president said he would not return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States. Bukele called Abrego a terrorist during a meeting at the White House with President Trump. The U.S. Supreme Court on Thursday upheld a judge's order directing the Trump administration to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia, whom the administration admits was deported to the U.S. due to an administrative error. El Salvador President Bukele said on Monday today that he would not return Kilmar Abrego Garcia to the United States despite the U.S. Supreme Court upholding an order directing the Trump administration to, quote, facilitate his return. The question is preposterous, he said during a meeting with President Trump when he was asked about sending Abrego Garcia back from the notorious concentration camp where he has been held forcibly when he was forcibly deported in March. How can I smuggle a terrorist into the United States? I don't have the power to return him to the United States. A, what are you talking about? It's your concentration camp, dude. 2, he's not a terrorist. There's no evidence to suggest that. This is so freaking disgusting, man. Because I torture him 9 hours a day. Trump said you can keep him. Yeah, she did pass away. Rip. And it's not just Mr. Garcia, it's a bunch of other people. Apparently they grabbed a 19-year-old kid they weren't even looking for, just snapped them up. Yeah, I mean, like, they're again, it's, 75% of those people never had a criminal record? This is so effed. Yep. America, indeed. The Trump administration officials at the same Oval Office meeting suggested they would not comply with Maryland's District Court Paul Lazina's demand that officials facilitate Abrego's return from his native country. The Trump administration, which claims he's a gang member, again, no evidence of this at all. Who is a married father of 3 who lives in Maryland, was deported due to an administrative error. Other countries need to get involved, but Gaza is an illustration of where the whole international human rights situation is. Yeah, I mean, true. He's threatening to take Greenland and the Panama Canal, but when it comes to El Salvador, it's oopsie, we're powerless. Yep. Yeah, Mexico. The administration also argues it has no legal responsibility to get him back, and the federal courts lack the power to compel his return. On Thursday, Supreme Court upheld Zinnes' order, but asked her to clarify it. Zinnes quickly did so, and on Friday told the Trump administration to give her daily updates on the status of Abrego Garcia and about his efforts to get him back. Bukele suggested he would not comply with the administration even if asked. I mean, we're not very fond of releasing terrorists into our country, the Salvadorian president said. Okay, but again, he's not a freaking terrorist, and again, you're not being asked to release him back into El Salvador. We're asking for you to release him back to the United States. Which one is it? Was he deported by mistake or was he in a gang? Yeah, I mean... They're constantly speaking out of both sides of their mouth. Yeah, and that's the point. It's exactly correct, Sassy Sasserai. Exactly. We just turned the murder capital of the world into the safest country in the Western Hemisphere, and you want us to go back into releasing criminals so we can go back to being the murder capital of the world? Because that's not going to happen. No one is saying that, like, he's not even, like, convicted of any crimes whatsoever at all. Like, to say that, like, he's, like, a murderer, a terrorist, a gang member, like, you're just making shit up. Okay? Trump said that the media would, quote, love to have criminals released into the United States, adding that the media are sick people. He also said he wants Bukele to accept as many criminals as possible. After insulting the CNN reporter who asked about Abrego Garcia, Trump had tossed a question about his return to Attorney General Pam Bondi. Bondi said Abrego Garcia, who's never been convicted of a crime in the United States, had been determined in the courts to be a gang member of the gang MS-13, who was in the country illegally. Again, this is false. This is just made up stuff, okay? Like, there was no evidence that this man was a MS-13 gang member, okay? Zinnes said there's no evidence that he's a gang member. That's up to El Salvador if they want to return him. That's not up to us, which is not true. She said the Supreme Court's ruling on Abrego Garcia only requires that the Trump administration facilitates his return, meaning provide a plane if El Salvador decides to return him. I mean, like, semantics. Whatever, dude. Dan Anonymously, welcome. He's a citizen of El Salvador, so it's very arrogant even for American media to suggest that we would tell El Salvador how to handle its own citizens. Of course, Stephen Miller. Secretary of State Marco Rubio nodded along at Miller's interpretation of the Supreme Court's ruling. After Bukele said he would not release Abrego Garcia, Rubio said, I don't understand what the confusion is. This individual is a citizen of El Salvador. He was illegally in the United States and was returned to his country. That's where you deport people back to their country of origin. Okay, but he never had due process, okay? He had protected status because gangs were after him. That's why he sought asylum here. I'm not working 8 to 5, so I need to remember to tune in. No problem. Appreciate that. Oh, please, it doesn't apply that logic to any other country. Yeah. The foreign policy of the United States is conducted by the President of the United States, not by a court, and no court in the United States has the right to conduct the foreign policy of the United States. It's that simple. But we're not talking about conducting foreign policy. We're talking about a person's right to due process. When the CNN reporter attempted to ask Trump a follow-up question, the president replied, how long do we have to answer this question from you? As long as it freaking takes, man. Why don't you just say, isn't it wonderful that we're keeping criminals out of our country? No, man, because that's not a criminal that you deported. Sweet, either earbud charge enough to use while the other one is charging. Nice. You know, if and when Trump declares all criticism to be illegal, we may all have to start meeting in person and abandon trade stations. It is truly horrifying stuff. Because once you, again, I know I've said this like a million times at this point. Once you establish that a group of people don't have due process, it's only a matter of time before nobody has due process. And this isn't me saying this. This isn't me being exaggerating. This isn't me being bombastic. This is Trump saying this. My jaw has been on the ground for like an hour. Yeah, it should be shocking each and every time. But this is truly a different, like, we're in a different, like, ball game at this point. Trump calls for deporting some citizens to El Salvador, testing the U.S. law, which obviously is not constitutional. President Trump said on Monday he wants to deport some violent criminals and again, like, this means nothing because, like, anyone he deems a violent criminal is game, right? Because like there's no, if someone like Abrego Garcia, who had no criminal record is being branded as a terrorist, criminal, MS-13, like whatever, because like they're just slapping whatever on him, whatever scary labels on him, then like it stands to reason that when he says he wants to deport violent criminals, it just means like anybody, right? Like anybody's game. Trump's comments marked a clear signal yet that the U.S. president is serious about deporting naturalized and U.S.-born citizens, a proposal that alarms civil rights advocates and is viewed by many legal scholars as unconstitutional. Because it is. You don't need to be a legal scholar to kind of understand that, right? Does anyone know why my phone won't get Discord notifications until around this time? Who knows? Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe a do not disturb thing. Why isn't Bukele wearing a suit? How disrespectful. Trump was basically given carte blanche to do whatever the hell he wants. I highly doubt we'll see any consequences for what he's doing. For anything. Yeah, I mean, it's sad to say that that's probably the case, but you know. Trump's comments, Trump said he would only go through the idea if his administration determined that it was legal, but like, whatever, man. You know, legal is what he determines to be legal, right? Because what he's doing already is not legal, so like, that's kind of a moot argument. What he's saying is that I need to find a way to sell it to the population. It's not clear what level of due process an American would receive before being deported to a country Washington had previously accused of serious human rights abuses, including harsh and arbitrary detentions. We have to obey the laws, but we also have homegrown criminals that push people into subways, that hit elderly ladies with the back of the head with a baseball bat, like when they're not looking, that are absolute monsters. Okay. I'd like to include them in the group of people to get them out of the country, but you'll have to be looking at the laws on that. The U.S. government cannot forcibly remove citizens from the country for any reason, though in rare cases, foreign-born citizens can be stripped of citizenship and deported if they commit terrorism or treason or are found to have lied about their background during the naturalization process. There is no provision under U.S. law that would allow the government to kick citizens out of the country, said University of Notre Dame professor and Corcoran, an immigration law expert. Trump told reporters that he loved the idea of deporting citizens to El Salvador after Bukele said the country was open to housing U.S. citizens or U.S. prisoners. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt later confirmed that proposal was on the table, saying Trump had to simply floated the idea. Mouselander, your notification just sets the group summarized at a specific time. Yeah, it sounds... Yeah, like a do not disturb thing that goes off at a certain time. I'm gonna work out for a bit and hopefully burn some of this nervous energy. Yeah, I mean, no doubt. I completely understand. We're about to finish. I completely understand. The Trump administration has had hundreds of migrants accused of criminal affiliation to El Salvador's harsh concentration camp, known as CCOT, under often contested legal authorities. The U.S. is paying El Salvador $6 million to detain the migrants. So, in case we had any doubts here, in case anyone that somehow stumbles across this, okay, needs to hear this. This is from his mouth, okay? This is not from any news or anything like that. This is literally him saying what he wants to do. Okay? We've got two versions here. Let's try this one and see if we can get better video. But either way, the point is the last little clip. There's no way in hell deporting foreign citizens is legal. Maybe they could remove citizenship with an amendment. Oh, and it's not legal. It's not legal. 100%. and there's no circle of hell that Trump is suited for. They're still building that one. They're still building the circle, okay? It's beneath. Okay?
Come on. So this is a much different office. Homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrowns are next. The homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right.
They're laughing. Like, that's the scary shit about this entire clip. They're laughing about this. Okay? He's saying, like, again, this is not going to stop with undocumented people. This is not going to stop with documented people. This is going to be citizens too. See, I'd say it started deporting born citizens a few weeks ago, just last week. Yeah, it's not going to stop. Why would it? Manju Misty, welcome. Why would it stop? If no one's stopping him now, there's no guardrails here there's no guardrails here from doing this to citizens too. The black on black is giving villain. Oh, these are 100% like, he looks like a James Bond villain, like a comic book villain. And he's saying that you need to build more concentration camps. Like, he's saying,
next.
Look,
the homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right. It's not big enough. No, yeah, come on.
It's not big enough. You have to build about 5 more places because homegrowns are next. I mean, like, this is serious, folks. Shout out to the dude and Ladybug. I don't know why the player
demanded the people wanted to change over, and they wanted to. He demanded. They love you. They love what you do. You know, I'm not feel supportive. I want them to do. You know, homegrown criminals next. Yeah. I said homegrowns are next. The homegrowns built. You got to build about 5 more places. Yeah, that's fair. All right. It's not big enough. No, yeah, come on. So this is a much different office than you remember.
Look, how is the Dr. Evo you bought on Temu? Whispering in your ear is the last thing you want to hear before you croak. Jesus, I don't need that imagery. Brandon from the Discourse was saying we're not too far off from having little comic book supervillains running around. Wow, how they can just do this stuff on public. Yeah, I mean, nobody's stopping them. Does anyone with the connection to the military have any idea what the vibe is? Are they into this? I don't know. I'm curious as to why Trump isn't using them as prison labor to replace construction farm. Instead of, they want children to fill those roles. Maybe it's for the same reason they love the uneducated. I don't know. Fascism doesn't have to make sense. Cruelty is the point. Okay, as long as like the others are getting punished, then like it doesn't really matter. Right? Like, who cares? Who cares if the economy crashes? At least like the brown people are going to camps, right? Who cares if it doesn't make any sense? That they could potentially be like, I don't know, even like from a lot more logical point of view, if you want to be like really more evil and just use that slave labor here at home. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to make sense. Some private prison companies are inquiring about their use of population for labor. They want the labor laws waived, and I'm sure that the Trump administration would be more than happy to oblige. But yeah, as long as the scary brown people are, out of the country, then like, whatever. So what? So what if there's tariffs? So what if my eggs prices aren't coming down? So what if my gas is going to increase? Like, who cares? So what if my grocery prices are increasing? The dirty browns are gone. So you know what? Whatever. Yes, they're doing evil stuff that hurts them too. What is this mental illness cause? Fascism. It's called being like not capable of having empathy and being a racist asshole, right? Like, imagine like the group of people that are cheering this on, right? Not realizing that this hurts them too, because I guarantee you that like most of the people that voted for Trump are not wealthy capitalists, okay? RK did mention wanting labor camps for mentally ill. He did. America, outlaw Trump wins a second term. Terrorist Trump will probably win a third. Monster truck jump pyrotechnics with Trump holding an American flag. It's giving work will set you free vibes. 100%. AMC's newest offerings, The Thinking Dead. A bottle of Brando. RK's a true Bond villain. He is. Because he absolutely knows what the heck he's doing. I think they want the larger population for their physical labor and they can train AI. Real citizens can just be white, whichever white people are rich enough. You just need to white cat to stroke. That's what the brain worm is for. Alright, folks, I gotta get out of here. And now I realize it's perfect to bring to protest. There you go. Smart. Very smart. I came in as soon as you're leaving. It's all good. Have a good one. No, I appreciate you just stopping by, even if it's at the end. Okay. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate it, folks. I know this kind of was heavy, and we're gonna keep like covering as more things happen with the story. It's not going to be the last time we hear about this story for sure. So thank you all for sticking through it. I know it's rough. This is going to be a rough time. So the best thing I can leave you guys with is stay together. Stay together. Okay, solidarity is everything. We keep us safe, and remember that no matter how disgusting, no matter how bad things get, fascism never wins, okay? Fascism never wins. Pilot Lights, you want the song? Okay. Yeah, go hug a family member. Protect yourselves and protect each other. Yes, please like and subscribe. Thank you for your support, and thank you to the very generous, eager with all the biddies, the subscriptions. So we have a total of 400 biddies. And the 5 gifted subs, and the very generous 25 gifted subs from Wolf Glen. Thank you. And the generous gifted sub from Night of Zeal. I appreciate that. Thank you. You guys are what makes this channel grow. I appreciate it. You guys are what keeps this going, so I appreciate that. Again, if you want to support the channel, keep doing what you're doing. Spread the word. Spread the word. We're here Monday through Thursdays around 5 p.m. Eastern time. Bring a friend. Lend me your eyeballs, folks. That's one of the best ways to support the channel. If you want to do so directly, check out the merch store and hit that exclamation mark tip. Thank you, Heat. Thank you, Michael Hessler, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. I missed the end of majority today. No problem. That's the cool thing about YouTube. They're starting to put the fun half on the YouTube, by the way. Yeah, Wolfglen came in with the massive 25 gifted subs. So yes, thank you. Thank you, Ground Level News. Thank you again, Heat, Michael Hatzer, for modding the chat. I appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please take care of each other. Alfion, I hope to see you guys in the next one. Join the Discord, folks. Join the Discord. See ya. One second, folks.
It might take all the strength I got to get to where I want, but I know somehow I'm gonna get there. I wasn't looking when I just got caught between the truth and the light bulb. But finding out won't make me feel any better. Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright. I guess somewhere the choice was made for the option where you don't get paid, for the road that bends before it finally breaks you. I guess somehow I lost my drive between the 101 and the 5. Do you know how far the detour takes you? Yeah, I know the clock is ticking, but the meds are gonna kick in, and my pilot light shining bright.
All right, folks, hang tight. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bye-bye.
The months drifted into years while I shifted in and out of